What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna be doing a tier list. Finally, I haven't done a tier list in a very long time, and this time it's gonna be on the Mathilda patch. Alright, so this is after Ling got nerfed and a bunch of other really meta heroes really got nerfed. So keep in mind that this is the Mathilda patch if you're watching. Alright, so if it's a different patch, or like if it's an old patch, it might be a different meta, so make sure it's the correct patch that you are watching. This is the most up-to-date tier list that I will be doing, so let's get right into it. Alright, so first things first, the introduction. It just says that all of these are based off Mythical Glory Elo, what they would use in Mythical Glory and not in Epic, not in Grandmaster. Whatever might be good in Grandmaster might not be good in Mythical Glory, you know what I mean? In pro play, whatever might be good in Mythical Glory might not be good in pro play. Professional play and Mythical Glory is still two different things. You could be 600 points and be Mythical Glory, but you still have a different meta. You know what I mean? Definitely with Epic Legends, it's different from Mythic meta and Mythical Glory meta. So you need to understand that. And disclaimer, this is my own opinion. If you don't like it, whatever, bro. You don't agree with me, it's alright. Comment down below on the comment section whether the hero should be on this tier or on the bottom tier, you know what I mean? So it really depends on you, but this is my own opinion. That's a disclaimer before we get right into it, because a lot of people, every time I do a tier list, people be trash talking me. Oh, this Sun is so strong, he's so good 1v1. I really don't give a fuck if he's good 1v1. You know, we're talking about 5v5 Mythical Glory Elo, and in the highest level, what would these heroes offer you? You know what I mean? So let's get going. This just explains the tier list. If their names are on green, that means that they're easy to master, they're easier to use. If their names are yellow, they're medium difficulty. If their names are red, they're really hard to master. Alright, and the tier list goes like this. S tier is the highest tier, and then D tier is the lowest. Okay, let's get right into it. The first tier list that we're gonna be looking at will be the Marksman tier list. Alright, so Claude recently got buffed with the passive, so the Demon Hunter Sword itemization is really good with him. Brody is still really strong. Brody didn't get nerfed at all. Kari is still decent at gold lane. Alright, so people are doing like a 2-2-1 with a designated jungler on their team, and they like doing two people on the gold lane instead of just one. So you have like a tank with your marksman, alright? But Kari is still decent. Wanwan is definitely super good. Bruno's very strong right now, by the way. So Bruno's like a almost S tier, actually, almost S tier. Roger got nerfed a couple of patches ago. He's not as tanky as before. When his passive was really tanky, was making him really tanky, he was S tier, but now he is actually only A tier. Mia got the revamp, right? Ever since the revamp, she has been in A tier. Yisenshin is still very good. You got the since the revamp as well. The immune on your first skill is very good for survivability, and your global ulti, which is super good. That's why he is at A tier. Alright, let's talk about B tier. Clint used to be at C tier, I believe, but now he is at B tier since he got buffed recently. He got revamped a little bit. His first skill is like he shoots a bunch of bullets now. So I believe it's stronger, actually. I believe he's stronger, and he's actually a really close A tier, to be honest. Clint is a very close A tier. I decided to put him on B tier because it's still questionable. We still haven't seen it in pro play, but we might. I have talked to Coach Ducky about Clint, and he also said that Clint might be a thing in the gold lane, to be honest. The poke is real. You have some sort of stun with your second skill, mobility with your dash. You have so much range and poke on your ulti. It's really good. So that's a potential really sleeper pick for Clint. Alright, Popol and Koopa is alright. We're talking about Marksman, alright? So it's either Marksman build, Popol and Koopa. You're also gonna see Popol and Koopa on the tank tier list, alright? Because some people use him as tank, but we're talking about Marksman right now. So meaning, let's think about Popol and Koopa as a damage dealer, alright? If you were to build Popol and Koopa as a damage dealer, so Popol and Koopa would go into B tier most likely. I see some teams that do it. For example, Blacklist, they really like doing the Popol and Koopa, Diggy, Farsa, Hellcurt combo that does the objective rush. So he's really good at rushing objectives. So Popol and Koopa is really good at that. So that's why he's gonna stay at B tier. I was actually really close to putting Kimi at C tier, to be honest. But the reason why I didn't put Kimi on C tier is her late game is super strong. Her poke, if you do full mage Kimi, she's really strong. Alright, so that's why I ended up putting her on B tier. For Moskov, actually is still gonna be B tier. Good mobility, but the only problem with him is short range and very weak early game. But late game though, he's very scary if you hit those stuns. Oh man, Granger got weak used to be in A tier actually. Granger used to be in A tier, now is down to B tier. I actually think Clint might be better than Granger, to be honest with you. That's why he's gonna go down to B tier, alright? C tier goes to Hanabi, no mobility. Irithel as well, not as much mobility, but really scary late game, both of those heroes. Leslie has a little bit of mobility with the invisibility, but that doesn't matter because she's a single target hero and she's really easy to kill. She has no AoE damage. If you compare it, Granger has AoE damage, Moskov has AoE damage with the collateral, Kimi has AoE damage, Clint has AoE damage. The only reason why Kari, Wanwan, and them would be higher than Hanabi, Irithel, or Leslie would probably be because Kari could melt down tanks. Wanwan has so much survivability and so much mobility, and she's really hard to catch. Meanwhile, Leslie, they need to be really close to you for you to use your second skill, which is really hard to land, to be honest with you. But for D tier, we have Layla, alright? Still D tier even after the revamp. Close to C tier, to be honest with you. The lack of mobility is just, yeah, is the reason why Layla is not good at all. Her damage late game is definitely insane. And do not argue with me, oh, Layla could be really, really strong in the comment section, please. So that will be the Marksman tier list, alright? These guys could actually go to gold lane or core at mid. So it's one or the other. Cannot be both. Either core or Marksman. That's the one I considered. Let's go down to the next list. Mage mid-core tier list. I really needed to be specific with this. Mage mid-core, not mage support, alright? Mage mid-core. If you were to play all these heroes as a core, that's how I rank them, okay? There's gonna be a separate tier list for supports, so do not worry. If you're gonna play mage mid-core, they most likely need to have retribution, alright? So you need to take that into account. Let's say, for example, Selena gets retribution. There's a couple that do it. I see Selena in S tier, and it's definitely very strong, but the only problem with Selena as a mid-core is she falls off really hard late game. So if you don't snowball, you're probably gonna lose. Esmeralda mid-core is still really good. Harith mid-core is still very, very strong. One of the best cores right now in the game, actually. Harith is also used as a support, and he's still really strong, even if he's used as a support. For A tier, we have Chang'e, so that's Harley. Harley got buffed recently, that's why. Used to be in B tier. I put him up to A tier now. As a core, very, very good. And recently, Bren Esports managed to use Harley. I might do an analysis on that, by the way. Yeah, you could watch out for that. I want to see how they use this Harley to make it work. They actually won with the Harley core, so I want to see it. Kagura, let's say Kagura had Retribution. I could see it too. Kagura with Retribution as mid-core. But most of the time, you'll see Kagura as a support, alright? We're just kind of, how do you say this? We're assuming that all these heroes are being played as mid-core. Guinevere with Retribution, it could possibly work. Not as blue buff dependable or purple buff, whatever you want to call it. If you really hit those knockups, very, very, very strong. She gets really fed, super scary. Even if you don't knock up and then you ulti, you still do a shit ton of damage. Lilia with Retribution, not that bad, falls off really hard late game though. Early game very good, late game really trash. Lunox was a really close S tier, but the problem with Lunox, if you use Lunox as a core, is her wave clear on the jungle is very, very weak if you compare them to Selena, Esmeralda, Harith. And that's why I put her into A tier, alright? The only reason why is because of her jungle clear. Okay, but she's really good. Once she gets going, she's really, really good. So she goes to A tier. Cyclops, let's say Cyclops uses Retribution. He's still decent. The only problem with Cyclops is mobility. Cyclops is actually a close B, but I didn't want to put too much B tier here because it was about to get full, as you can see. It was about to get full. I was running out of space. So I was like, alright, whatever, I'm gonna put him into A tier, whatever. He actually has pretty good jungle clear, good wave clear at mid lane. He has CC on his ulti. He has good sustain if you get concentrated energy. Overall, not so bad. He's a really close B tier though. Really close B tier for a Cyclops. Let's go to B tier. We have Valier. Good as a support, but not good as a core, okay? Same with Kadita. Really slow jungle clear. A lot of these guys, you're gonna see slow jungle clear early game. Alice, slow jungle clear until level 4. Loyi, you only have first skill. Let's say you're level 1 and you're trying to do blue buff. You only have first skill twice, and then it takes you so long to kill that blue buff. Alright? Nana, slow jungle clear. You only have the boomerang. Sicilian, you need to be really, really far away from the buff for you to even hit the blue buff. So that's why Sicilian's at B. Zas. For Zas, the only reason why Zas is at B is because the cooldown on the first skill. Alright? You need your first skill to actually farm the jungle, but you're not gonna always have it available for you. So it's still a little bit slow for the jungle clear. Same with Farsa. Early game, Farsa's wave clear is very, very weak. But at level 4, it's very, very strong with the ulti, as you know. The only bad part about Farsa is the early game. That's why I put her into B tier. She was actually a close A tier, to be honest with you. This could change Cyclops and Farsa. If I wanted to change anything, Cyclops should be B tier and then Farsa should be A tier if I really wanted to change something. For Gord, good wave clear. Problem is, no mobility. No mobility at all. Really easy to kill, really easy to target. That's why Gord lands on B tier. Kimmy as core. The problem with Kimmy is if you don't have Purify or Flicker, it's really easy for the enemy to target you. And considering that you're playing Mage mid-core, Kimmy would get Retribution and you're not going to have the survivability that you usually have if you play Kimmy on the gold lane. Now going into C tier, Odette, slow wave clear. Aurora, slow wave clear. Veil, slow wave clear. Vexana, slow wave clear. Eudora, slow wave clear. Framis, slow wave clear. That's why they go into D tier and C tier. Hopefully that is understandable. So let's keep going. Assassin core. Now this time we're looking at assassins as a core. Alright, we're not looking at Selena support. We're not looking at Natalia support, okay? We're gonna look at them as if they were to use Retribution as their spell, okay? Benedetta is an assassin. S tier, definitely the only S tier right now. Brody and Benedetta are still super strong. Freaking both broken heroes. Even though she did get nerfed recently, she's still freaking broken. Honestly, she's still broken. I'm gonna tell you that. But late game, she falls off really hard. But if she does snowball, oh man, you're gonna have a hard time. Gushin, Karina, Yi Shin, Hayabusa, Harley, Lancelot, and Saber will go to A tier. Saber got the revamp, so he's strong. Used to be in C tier for me on my previous tier list, on my previous tier list, which is a long time ago. That before the Saber revamp. So after the Saber revamp, I would say Saber would be an A tier. Alright, still A tier. Lancelot got nerfed recently. Still in A tier. It's not that noticeable. The nerf is not that noticeable, okay? We talked about Harley earlier. Bren used them, and they made it work. He's considered an assassin by the game, by ML itself. That's why I put Harley in here. If you're wondering, why is Harley an assassin? You can check in-game. He's considered assassin. That's why he's in here. Hayabusa is actually very underrated and probably one of the best cores right now behind Claude and Brody and Vendetta. Hayabusa very underrated as a core at mid. Misen Shin is still very good. Karina is also something that you might see in pro plays sometime soon. Claude can get countered by Karina. You got the immune, bro. You're gonna get bursted, right? If you think about it situationally, Karina could be good. Could be really good in some situations. But then again, yes, in some situations she's really bad. So all of this are situational. But her potential, I would say, is A tier. She's really scary. Wave clears really fast. She immunes a lot of the meta right now since Brody and Claude is a thing, you know, at mid right now. She's really good. Gushun is a A tier. If you build Beast Killer with Gushun, you're very tanky and you still have a lot of burst. So that's what usually what I see right now in rank. Gushun with Pillager Axe and Beast Killer. And then they just do full damage afterwards. Calamity Reaper, Holy Crystal, and so on. Fanny. Problem with Fanny is the buff change. You know how you're gonna lose the blue buff for a good 15 seconds? That kind of nerfed Fanny a little bit. So that's why Fanny is still gonna be in B tier. But if she does snowball, she's still really scary. And it really depends on the user, to be honest. But if you were to play Fanny in the pro play, it's really hard. So many counters for Fanny, so many. Hellcurt got nerfed recently. Used to be an S tier, the previous tier list I made. But Hellcurt is now gonna go to B tier because you cannot silence enemies anymore with just plain damage. They need to crowd control you for them to get silence unless you're ulting, alright? Unless you're ulting, your first kill actually has a silence. That's why Hellcurt will go down to B tier, okay? People in Epic, people in Legend still think Hellcurt is ban worthy. No, Hellcurt is freaking trash now. He's pretty trash now, alright? Not completely trash, but you know what I mean. He's not as good as the other heroes. Lapu Lapu is considered an assassin by the game. Now, Lapu Lapu is good as an offlane, probably one of the best. But as a core at mid, Lapu Lapu is not that good. The wave clear is very slow. That's why Lapu Lapu is not that good as a core. Zilong is actually pretty scary. Zilong used to be on C tier for me. But with the full burst and revamp, oh man, Zilong could actually do some bit of damage. That's why he's gonna go down to B tier. Natalia as a support is very good. As a core, on the other hand, Natalia will go to B tier, alright? Ling got nerfed super freaking hard. Used to be an S tier. Now will go down to B tier. But in the next patch, I believe Ling is gonna get buffed again. His energy will go back. So if you're watching this, please understand why I put Ling there. Make sure it's the correct patch. This tier list is after Ling got nerfed. That's why Ling is at B tier. So do not complain to me if you see Ling on B tier and it's already the next patch and he's strong again, okay? Selena will go down to B tier as an assassin core. Oh, well, she was actually an A tier in the Mage core tier list. But as an assassin core, she's not as good just because of the late game, to be honest with you. She's actually a really close. I should have put her on A, to be honest. This should have been A. Selena should have been A, most likely. Alucard is gonna go down to B, even though after the revamp, if you really put a lot of CC on Alucard, you are gonna get destroyed if you don't have Purify. So that's why Alucard will stay at B tier. C tier, Hanzo. Hanzo is actually a really close B tier for me, alright? Because I actually have a specific strat for Hanzo that I haven't shown people yet. But yeah, Hanzo is a close B tier for me. It really depends on how you execute Hanzo. And it depends on who you're against, right? You don't want to play Hanzo when you're against a Nat. Leslie is still a C tier. Like if you were to use Leslie on mid with Retribution, no Flicker, no Purify, you're gonna get targeted so easily. Mathilda is considered an assassin by the game, and Kadita is also considered an assassin by the game, but they're gonna go down to D tier. They fit more as a support instead of a core. Alright, so make sure you know that. That's why they are at D tier. Next, tank tier list. For S tier, we have Jawhead and Akai. You've seen me play Akai on my streams. Definitely, probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest tank right now, because he's just so balanced. He can disengage and he can engage. He could either peel your carry or he could set up for you. You know, he could do both. That's why Akai is so good. He's so reliable. There's not really a lot of counters to him except for, like, let's say Chu. Chu's a good counter, and Kufra, I guess, because of the knockup. But other than that, if you really avoid that, if you really use your Hurricane Dance and kind of push off a little bit, they're not going to be able to knock you up, alright? So Jawhead is still S tier as a tank, and Atlas is actually A tier. Used to be an S tier, actually. Baxia is going to be in A tier. Kufra is in A tier. Gator as a tank is very, very underrated, and I think should be looked up by professional teams. They should do it more often. Gator is good as an offlaner, but as tank is actually not that bad. He's really good. The set is really good. The sustain is super, super good. Sylvana, you could use Sylvana as a tank right now. A lot of pro teams are actually doing this right now with the Sylvana tank. As long as you land your ulti on a core or anybody that's squishy, that's an easy pick off right away. Especially for the core that's using Retribution. They don't have Purify to get out of the Sylvana ulti. Carmilla is very underrated as well, I would say. I have been playing against a bunch of Carmillas lately. I would tell you, a lot of sustain. She's really hard to kill. Really, really annoying. She's pretty mobile, to be honest with you. With her second skill stun, she gets a boost of movement speed, you know what I mean? And then on team fights, when everybody's together, man, the ulti just will destroy the enemy team. Let's say you're a Carmilla tank against an Atlas tank. You counter Atlas, so Carmilla would be a good pick. So all of these are situational as well. You need to keep that in mind. Chu tank is very good right now. Although Chu's ulti gets interrupted now, compared to before where Chu's ulti does not get interrupted. So sometimes you cannot follow up your kick if they stun you or if they snare you or something. Belric got buffed recently, but Belric is very situational. If you're against high DPS heroes, alright, like Claude for example, Alice, those guys, Belric is a very good pick. And those two right there, those two, Claude and Alice, man, if they don't get banned, those two will usually often get picked all the time. They are super meta heroes. As for Hilda got nerfed recently, so she's not used as much anymore, alright? But she's still decent. She used to be an S tier with Jawhead, but now A tier will go to Hilda, okay? Tigreal was actually a close B tier, but it really depends on the user. Now that you could flicker ulti with Tigreal and you could set very, very well, Tigreal probably has the longest CC duration out of all the tanks. If you land all your skills, Barats, you can use this. Give me that bullshit. That Sun, this is an offlaner. You can use him as a tank. And what's good about Barats is, let's say you have Lord and you're trying to zone out the enemy. You could use Barats, stand in front of the Lord, and just ulti somebody, and then you're gonna eat them, and then they're gonna be dead because you're gonna be spitting them out into a wall and they get stunned. Your teammates just burst them out and you're good to go. Khalid tank is still pretty decent. Khalid tank used to be an S tier until a bunch of nerfs on him recently. I didn't do a tier list when Khalid was an S tier. I didn't do a tier list when Hilda was S tier. But in this current patch, the Mathilda patch, they're gonna land in A tier. For B tier, let's talk about B tier. Lolita. You cannot flicker ulti anymore for Lolita, right? So that's why she's gonna go down to B tier. From what I heard, you cannot flicker ulti anymore, but I haven't used her. I don't know if it's true. People be telling me you cannot flicker ulti with her anymore. Grok, not that good right now. Lacks CC and pressure early game. Johnson got buffed recently, still not too good, B tier. Franco is probably better as a support, to be honest with you, rather than a solid tank. If we say tank tier list, we're talking about solid tank, your primary tank. And Franco is not a good primary tank. He's too squishy. If you keep not landing your hooks, you're gonna get destroyed. Minotaur got buffed recently. Minotaur is actually a close A tier, to be honest with you. Since my A tier is so full, I had to put Minotaur at B. That's the only reason why. Hylos will be here at B tier. Although Hylos is not so bad either. Very close A tier as well. Ruby is better as an offlaner or a secondary tank for your team. She's gonna go to B tier as a primary tank. Esmeralda, you don't really see Esmeralda as a tank. Masha as a tank, and Alice as a tank. Alice is considered as a tank by the game, by the way. That's why I put Alice here. Balman and Uranus as well, they're gonna go down to D tier. So hopefully those are reasonable. Okay, let's go down to the next. This is gonna be the Offlane. Alright, I didn't include Marksman here because there's way too many. Let's talk about S tier. I know, there's a lot of S tier. That's because all of these are situational as well. Yu Zhong, still very strong. Esmeralda, still very, very strong. Lapu, probably the strongest offlaner right now with Alice. Those two. Barats was a close A tier, especially after the nerf. I just ran out of spots, guys. I just ran out of spots. Look, B tier and A tier is so full. So I was like, where do I put Barats? Okay, well, might as well put him into S tier. But yeah, Barats is like a very borderline A tier. Very, very borderline. Gwyn offlane is actually not too bad. Hayabusa offlane is very, very underrated. Hayabusa 1v1 is a monster, right? Alpha got buffed recently, and I think Alpha is actually viable now, but pro teams haven't used them yet. I know that Brand has tried Alpha as a core, and he's just decent. But as an offlane, now that he got buffed again, I think Alpha is definitely viable now. Good sustain. You have freaking ulti every 9 seconds. It's like a normal skill. Imagine that. You have ulti every 9 seconds. I tried using Alpha's core. Ulti every 9 seconds. That's insane. Gatot, high sustain. Really good survivability with the ulti. Good setup, you know, engage. Ruby as an offlane, I said, is better than a tank. Chu offlane is a very close B for me, to be honest. I just ran out of spots again. He's not as good on offlane anymore. He loses a lot of matchups, to be honest. That's why. If he didn't lose a bunch of matchups, then I would put him on A tier, no problem. On the current meta right now, he gets countered by a bunch of these heroes in the meta. So Xborg is still definitely very decent. Thamos, still very, very scary. Some people even do Thamos core. I forgot to freaking put Thamos as core at mid, but he's a fighter core actually. So what people do is they do Thamos with Retribution. They end up invading the red buff. And as long as you got the red buff with Thamos, oh man, is he strong early game. He's so scary, alright? But we're talking about offlane here, alright? But if I were to put Thamos on the core tier list, A tier. Alright, since I don't have him on core tier list, I'll put him A tier. But offlane, still A. Khalid as an offlane, still very decent, still A tier. Jawhead as an offlane is still very decent. But late game, you fall off really hard since you're really squishy. Hilda as an offlaner is still decent even after the nerf. You can still kind of harass people by going back and forth into the bush. You get shield, you get HP regen, and then poke again with your second skill. Still not so bad, so gonna go down to A tier. Zats will be B tier with Dairoth, Masha, Gusion, Leomord, Badang, Sylvana, Terisla, Freya, Uranus, and Baxia. Oh, so why did I put Baxia here? If you guys haven't seen Baxia offlane by, let's say, Onyx, Blacklist has done it. You know what I mean? I could have put Baxia as a core, technically, as a core, since Blacklist has done and freaking Myanmar teams has done Baxia Retribution, so technically that's a core. But I didn't, since it's a very small percentage of the teams that do that, alright? You really need to know what the hell you're doing if you want to pull it off. That's why I didn't put it. Gusion as an offlane is still very decent. Gusion is good against high sustain heroes, but since Uranus fell off the meta, right? Uranus got nerfed to freaking death. He's really not good anymore. Not that good anymore. That's why Gusion goes down. Gusion is good against Alice and Esmeralda though. Full burst is good against high sustain heroes. That's why Gusion is sometimes used as an offlaner if you're asking. Leomord, I could have put Leomord as a core as well. Leomord is actually a very, very good pick at mid right now. Mid core. Something that I've been wanting to freaking do with the team I'm coaching, but I still haven't finalized with any teams yet. People are busy, especially pro teams. They're busy with M2, they're busy with other tournaments, you know what I mean? Masha, not used as an offlaner that much. Well, used as an offlaner most of the time, but the problem is there's a lot of other heroes that are way better than Masha. You cannot do the split push Masha that you used to. Back when it was like M1, she was picked almost every game. She was broken. Let's talk about C tier. Argus, Zilong, Aldous, Martis, Alucard, Balmin, Roger, and Bane will be in C tier. Hopefully that's reasonable. I don't have to explain anything there. Roger could have been B tier, to be honest. I just ran out of spots. The problem with Roger is after the nerf, he's just not as good anymore. After the nerf, really. But as a core, he's really good as a core. He can itemize a lot quicker as a core. That's why he's gonna go down to C tier as an offlane. D tier, Mincetar and Sun. Don't even give me that bullshit that Sun.
Oh, Sun is so good 1v1.
I really don't care if he's good 1v1. We're talking about 5v5 here. At the end of the day, this is a team game. Try using Sun in Mythical Glory or Pro Play, please, and then argue with me. Jesus Christ, I can't believe people argue with it. Okay, let's go to support, so this video is done. S tier, definitely Nat. Definitely Lunox. Definitely Farsa. Definitely Selena. Definitely Harith. Hopefully those are understandable. In the past few tournaments, those freaking 5 heroes. These 5 heroes right here often get banned and picked. A tier, Mathilda. Mathilda, very close S tier, but we haven't seen pro teams done it yet since she's very new. Veil, you've been seeing a lot of Veil lately. Myanmar likes doing it. Omega likes doing it. Veil is very, very strong mid to late game. But early game, really ass. So he's not gonna go to S tier. That's why he go A tier. Kadita Eudora really good recently. You've seen it from RQ and Brand. Kagura is still pretty decent. Valir is still really decent. Anti-invade. Carmilla as a support is still decent. Cyclops as a support is still okay. Chang'e as support sometimes gets banned. Guinevere as support is a sleeper pick, by the way. Try it if you have a 5-man team. Try it out. For BT we have Popol and Koopa. Used to be really OP, but not anymore after all the nerfs that Popol and Koopa got. Lily as support is not too good, just okay. Usually for supports, you want to have something that's either really freaking strong early game or really, really strong late game. Lilia is not super strong early game, but that's her strength, is early game. But late game, she falls off super hard. So Ruby, let's say Ruby was a secondary tank. We're gonna put Ruby on B tier. Nana is still in B tier. Diggy is still in B tier. Diggy was a close A tier, to be honest with you, with all this Diggy shit. Diggy feeding stuff, but not even a lot of teams know how to execute it correctly. They keep trying to imitate, but whatever. Diggy's gonna go to B tier. Franco, I put Franco as a support because secondary tank. Alright, secondary tank. Franco B tier. Angela is also a close A tier. Angela paired with Esmeralda. Angela paired with Leomord. Angela paired with Harith. Just the combo. Very close A tier for me, actually, for Angela. Loyi is just okay. Loyi's just okay. Gonna go down to B tier. Really close A tier as well, to be honest. I was really getting confused here with the support tier list. Me and Akatsu had a really hard time trying to do this tier list because everybody was all everywhere. Everybody was all around the place. So Loyi is gonna go down to B tier. Just because she lacks mobility, I would say. Yes, she does have the ulti, but most of the time, if you don't have Winter Chuncheon, you will get bursted before that ulti even teleports you. Sicilian. I know a lot of people are gonna argue Sicilian because Sicilian late game is super strong. Not everything about Mobile Legends is about late game, okay? So don't tell me,
Oh, Sicilian is super strong. Aldous is super strong. We should be an A tier.
no, you need to think about all the phases of the game, alright? Most of the time, especially in pro play, Sicilian will not even get to late game. He will get bullied because the enemy knows Sicilian is freaking useless, almost useless in the early stage of the game. C tier, we have Framis, Aurora, Lolita, Minotaur, Kaja, Estes, Mincitar, Rafaela, and Zas. Now, Estes has been being used by Blacklist recently. This really depends on the user, to be honest. The Estes and Raf pick. I was really close to putting them on B tier, but again, it was getting full, and Akatsu was like, okay, I'll put them down to C tier. But if you were to think about it, if you consider pro play and like normal rank games, 5v5s, I would still put Estes and Rafaela in C tier. Just because not a lot of people use them, but their potential for me probably is probably B tier. Alright, their potential for me, if used correctly, would probably be B tier. But right now, in general, Estes and Rafaela will be C tier. Alright, Kaja's range with the ulti is still very short, so he's gonna go down to C tier. Vexana as a support will go down to D tier. Zaz sometimes get used as support, but lacks mobility, I say, and roaming. So gonna go down to C tier for me for Zaz. Could be possible B tier as well for Zaz, to be honest. It really depends on the user. Lolita and Minotaur are considered support by the game, so I put him on C tier as support. Imagine Minotaur as a secondary tank, or Lolita as secondary tank. Just imagine. As support. We're talking about support here, not primary tank, so keep that in mind. I don't want to see no arguments in the damn comment section, alright? But yeah, that's it. That is it for the tier list. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you guys think that this hero should be here, please make a valid argument. Please don't give me that low rank bullshit, alright? That's it for my tier list on the Mathilda patch. Keep in mind, this is the Mathilda patch, so make sure that you are watching and paying attention. And if the next patch comes in and then Ling is strong and then you guys argue with me, oh, Ling is strong, he should be an A tier, I can't do anything about it, bro. I already made the video. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Do not forget to subscribe, do not forget to hit the thumbs up, and do not forget to hit the notification bell before you leave for more analysis, for more tips and tricks and stuff like that, and more live streams. Alright, that will be all for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out. Peace.